For my third leadership book, I chose The Green Bench by Matt Rawlins. And this book is about a young executive who has become a manager in his office, and he's become overwhelmed with the amount of responsibility and things that are required of him. And so he goes outside to get some fresh air on a green bench in a park outside of his office, and he runs into a retired school teacher. This retired school teacher has a ton of wisdom, and he is really interested in discipling this young man because he starts to tell him the problems and the things that he's insecure about in his leadership in the office. And the school teacher has plenty of personal examples and stories with his kids that have brought him to the amount of wisdom that he has. I chose this book with these 5 points because I feel like the 5 points speak on how to be a secure leader. And from the different workshops or ILS speakers that we've had, I feel like not only being a biblical leader is important, which is kind of obvious, but being a secure leader is the main point of the book that I feel like I want to be. It's the type of leadership that I want to have, and it's the type of leader that I want to be, and these 5 points speak on how to go from being an insecure leader to a secure leader, because an insecure leader asks questions like, why don't I know everything? Because I feel like I need to know everything to be a good leader. Or how do I get people to respect me and do what I want? Or how do I motivate people or teach them how to learn or do these things? Or questions like that. They feel like they have little control, and so they start to exert too much control or micromanaging over their team. And so these are things that I want to avoid in my leadership. So the first crucial point of how to be a secure leader from this book is the retired school teacher teaches the young manager about how just because he's educated doesn't make him a learner, or just because he doesn't know something doesn't make him incompetent. So the first crucial thing is that you don't have to know everything, and you don't have to come off as if you did. So this allows the young manager to ask questions, to rely on his teammates. Instead of micromanaging and pushing people away, he invites people in, and he allows them to be part of his team. He allows them to give not only their input, but their creativity, and so he starts to use the people that are around him for good. And with this perspective, it not only shows value to the people that you work with, but it also shows your own vulnerability and honesty, that you're someone that they can relate with, because nobody knows everything, and we're all very aware of it. And so someone who comes off as if they do makes them very unapproachable. And so as a leader, I want to come off with the right amount of vulnerability to ask people questions, to ask people for help, to see the value in the people on my team or my followers and include them not only on decision making, but with structure or things like that. Just inviting them in to what I'm doing and not just being on top by myself with everybody below me. That's not the kind of leadership structure I want to have. The second major point that the manager learns is about change and how everything's changing all the time. And so how do we deal with change? It feels like when change happens or things come, it feels like the end. And the retired school teacher tries to teach him how change can actually be the beginning of things, not only the end of things. He goes into how God made our brains, and that with the neurons and the way that our brain makes connections, it allows for our brain to make patterns or traditions or habits. And so this allows us to conserve energy, because we're so finite and we only have so much amount of energy to give on things. God gave us a way to harness that energy into making choices once, so that once we make that choice, a connection is made, and the next time we need to make that choice, we can make it again without using the same amount of energy it took the first time to make the connection. The connection's already there. And so with this part of our brain that works that way, it allows us to fall into habits and traditions, which help conserve energy, and they do what they're supposed to do, but sometimes they can make us stuck. And so when change comes, it not only messes with the pattern, literally the patterns of our brain, but it also messes with our identity. And the old man goes into how it affects our identity because, in a way to conserve energy, God created us in a way where we see things that have value and we can make choices based on the one that has more value to us. So our choices define who we are because we express ourselves in our choices. We express what makes or what has value in our lives. And so with this, if you're headed down one direction and change comes and you have to either change paths or go somewhere else, you have to cut off that piece of who you are and what you've invested into this path and starting a new one. And starting over sometimes can feel like giving up more than it is starting something. But to have the mindset that change can also bring opportunity for something better than what was going this way, it allows you to like take that risk and to know when to change paths and know when to embrace and accept change. And I want to be the type of leader that knows when to accept and embrace change. I want to have the wisdom to know when to hold on and persevere and when to let go and to take opportunities for something better for me and my team. The third critical point is that a leader has to present the whole picture in order for their team members to see not only the big picture, but where they fit in the big picture. So vision is important, but meaning is also important. So when presenting a big picture to a team, the team members need to be able to pick out not only the meaning, but the meaning for them, what they're doing in the big picture. They need to be able to see their piece of the puzzle. And so by putting this together, we not only instill value into people's roles so that they feel motivated to take hold of what we're doing and motivated to push forward and be invested, but they can also see the value in the other people on the team. And so they don't put down others on the team, but they can lift them up and they see their value and they can network with each other appropriately and in a way that lifts the entire team up in getting forward with whatever we're doing. So they need to be invested and motivated. And my job as the leader that I want to do in my leadership is not only present the big picture, because knowledge is power and I want everybody to know exactly what's going on so that they feel empowered to help make the changes that need to be made or do the things that need to be done and move forward in the areas that we want to move forward. But I also want to instill in them a value that they're needed, that I need them on my team, that I can't do this big picture by myself, but that God created each person with a specific value that has specific gifts that fit together on my team, in which case I can rely on them for certain tasks that I couldn't do myself. I want them to know that they have value on my team. The fourth point that's critical on being a secure leader is that the leader has to provide a safe place not only to learn, but to encourage risk, which you learn from either failures or successes. Matt Rollins says that the biggest failure isn't just failing, but to fail and not learn from it. So I want to create a safe area as a leader where I can show them that I can take risks without fear of failure, and that will instill in them that they're also allowed to take risks. So the different type of risks that I want my team to be able to make is with vulnerability and creativity. I want them to feel like they can be vulnerable with me because there's a risk there that I could reject them and I won't. And I want them to be able to risk in the area of creativity and providing ideas and providing new ways of doing things. And just being able to take whatever I've given them and make it their own and being able to move forward with it. And so there's a certain amount of vulnerability for me to give them my dream or overall big plan and let them change it into the best way of moving forward. And there is risk in that. And so I want to be the type of leader that allows my team to be a part of the risk taking. The fifth and final point of a leader to be secure from this book is that I want to be able to make a form or a structure to how our team works by erring on the side of freedom. So a really common problem, which I have fallen into as a leader, is to micromanage and make sure everything works out perfectly because I want a certain product at the end. But with risk taking and being vulnerable, you sit down with each person and you figure out what their part of the big picture is. So you instill in them a value for what they can bring to the table, but you also provide a structure where they can do that. That there's not too much control, or that I'm not dominating my team, but instead I'm allowing them to be maybe just orchestrated, where they have the freedom to do and be creative and vulnerable and to move forward with things without me breathing down their neck and like telling them how to do every little thing. But being able to have a structure where they know the boundaries, they know what they're supposed to get done, or they know what they have to work with, but the amount of freedom and creativity to do with that what they will. Because it's their job, it's their gift, and they know it best, better than me. That's why it's not my job. And yeah, I want to be able to be the type of leader that can allow that amount of freedom while still being in control enough to have some type of form and structure so that they can feel safe within the structure. So these are my 5 points about the green bench, all of which lead to how to be a secure leader, which I hope and strive to be. Thanks.